All right, so the video recording has started. Um, for those who may be watching this back, thank you for taking the time to watch it back. For those who are on the call, thanks for joining for the AMA. We're obviously trying a bit of a new format. Telegram seems like a good option so far. Probably a little bit more reliable than a Twitter Spaces, a little bit easier, hopefully, to access than a Zoom call with a password. And after some of the unfortunate trolling that happened with our town hall, we thought we'll try a new medium. Of course, this will, as I mentioned just ahead of starting the recording, this recording will be made public on YouTube with timestamps on some of the more key questions. So hopefully, if you are watching this back on YouTube, feel free to jump around and find the question that makes the most sense that you need the answer on. I think, Bruno, you'll be kind of moderating for today, but I'd just like to start off by, again, thanking everyone who's on this call, and more broadly, thanking our community. There's obviously been a lot of heated discussion on the Telegram group, and you know, to be frank, that's far better than just being ignored. It shows, obviously, everyone, we understand, it shows everyone's passion for Empowa, for what we're trying to achieve, for trying to get this product right, and that all of you have really subscribed to our motto, which is to join our journey and help us to create something that is value adding, both for those who choose to support our project and for those who are on the ground. So this is the first of what will be multiple NFT collections that we release in collaboration with many different projects. We appreciate that some will fit some collectors and others will fit others, but of course we're trying to get as many of the fundamentals right from the first day, and so getting input, getting feedback, realizing areas that are attractive to collectors and realizing areas that are less attractive will be useful, and all of this will form our opinion for what we do with other projects, and there are many that we're speaking to. Um, I don't know. I know Bruno has some questions prepared that he can, from his kind of experience with the community, but maybe before we just jump to those, there are some people on the call. If anyone does want to put up their hand or unmute themselves and ask a question, then we can hopefully fire away with the community questions first. And if nobody is comfortable, we can obviously go with the ones that we've tracked on the Empower chat. So anybody, any questions, anything that they would like to ask, comment, and we can go from there.
I see a couple of people in the chat who are asking questions, so feel free if you're comfortable with it to unmute yourself and speak. But I can draw from the chat too, if that's.
Sure. Why don't you draw the first question from the chat, Bruno? Maybe that will set the ball rolling.
Okay, cool. So one question that was recently asked by you-know-who, I don't particularly, but hopefully we'll get to listen to in a little bit. But so an initial payment amount by the purchaser of 250 ADA, which is effectively converted to PMP at spot in order to facilitate repayment in EMP in 10 years' time. So the question here is spot at what time, when the purchase, or at the end of the 10 years? So essentially asking, when does the ADA value get converted to EMP? So from purchaser to receiving the rewards, how does that conversion work, I guess is the question. You-know-who, feel free to correct me. Maybe I'm interpreting this wrong. And just feel free to jump up and, correct me.
Yeah, you are spot on there, Bruno.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cool. Well, thanks, you-know-who, for the question. If I can, I'd like to tackle this as part of what has probably been a bigger conversation happening on the channel, which is how has this NFT been priced? How has the rewards that we're offering collectors being calculated, etc. So when factoring in the value of the NFT, there's really 4 key components that we believe make up the value of the NFT. The first one is the NFT as a collectible itself. Now, why would somebody want to own the NFT? Well, there's an artwork, there's the tesseract, there's a whole backstory to that Hung and his team have put together and is on the website, and we'll be profiling more of the backstory behind it. but for some people, that artwork will hold value. Of course, there's the story behind it. There's the fact that you'll be supporting some of the first houses and decentralized internet to roll out onto the African continent, being powered by a blockchain project. And of course, to some collectors will have value. The example I've often used with the team is maybe if the Empire State Building had been financed in a similar way, if you could say you were one of the people who enabled an iconic building like Empire State Building, having proof of that or having something that demonstrated that you were that person would, of course, hold value to some people for some amount.
Sorry,
Finally,
Greg. Might be
there's
useful turning your
not only
camera
that,
off.
there's also some kind of,
Oh,
yes,
hey, Greg. Sorry, could you turn your
turn
camera
my
off?
camera
It's a
off.
little bit like, yeah, I don't know if everyone else is getting that as well. You're cutting out quite a bit. Hello?
Hey. Wow. Okay, I assume you guys can hear me and hopefully my connection's a bit better.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, sorry about that. After I was talking about how Telegram was a more stable platform, it seems like we're off to a bit of a rocky start, but let's continue. So sorry, I was trying to answer whose question around how the spot price of EMP and maybe rather choosing to tackle the whole valuation of the NFT. So just in the interest of making sure that it's a clear narrative, I'll start again. But as I discussed, there's 4 parts to how one could price the NFT. The first consideration is as an NFT, as a collectible, and we've spoken, and I touched on briefly now, the creative, the tesseract, the story that goes into that Hung and his team have put together is available on the website, but we'll be obviously communicating in more detail. So there's artistic value there, of which any collector can assign their own value to that. Again, as I touched on, there's the story, the impact, the reality of what you're funding. You're funding affordable houses in Mozambique, along with decentralized internet, using blockchain technology, and that being able to kind of demonstrate that you were somebody who helped to make that a reality, for some collectors will have value. We know how some other NFT projects, simply by being first or early in the space, have held value. Well, being able to execute on the Cardano mission, demonstrating real fire may have some value. And again, I touched on the example of a Empire State Building, who, if you had financed that in a similar way, and maybe could now, however many decades on, showcase that you were one of the people who enabled such an iconic building or such an iconic moment to happen, that might hold value. We can imagine a world where if the whole of Africa was powered by decentralized internet and Cardano, and we had rolled out projects across the continent, being able to showcase that you kicked that off may have some collectible value into the future. And so that aspect of the NFT is something that anybody who's considering purchasing needs to quantify value for themselves. As I've gone through the team and as I've spoken to people and asked them to assign a value to that, I've had varying values assigned to that aspect of the project. Then we move on to the second component. The second component is the rewards that you're receiving for the impact that you're making. And so, again, that maybe is more easy to quantify, because many people in the channels have taken the amount of EMP you'll be receiving, the impact rewards, multiplied that. But again, there's kind of 2 considerations. The first one is that is, of course, only part of the value, as I was highlighting. So it can only account for a part of the cost. And also the figures used are, of course, figures that vary, and maybe the numbers that have been suggested are not numbers that can necessarily be executed by everybody. I.e., if you were to go and try and buy that amount of EMP onto the market, collectively, it would obviously affect the price and obviously affect the calculation. So here again, you can assign some value to the artistic component. Obviously, you'll assign some value to the rewards that are being proposed for those who are making an impact. The next 2 parts that I'd like to touch on is the ability to maybe realize some return from selling the NFT at a later stage to a collector. And here again, this might get a bit more technical, but you could imagine a world in 2 or 3 years' time, if, say, the value of EMP had been going up over that period, people might want to purchase this NFT because of the EMP that's been locked into, the EMP rewards that have been locked into it. And so, again, if the EMP was going up, say it had gone from being worth 1 ADA in 1 month to 2 ADA the next month, 3 ADA the next month, 4 ADA the next month, 5 ADA the following month. It's a very optimistic situation, but imagine that was the case. Somebody who held the NFT would be able to trade it with another collector who maybe took that potential future increase in the underlying value and want to lock it in now and hold that NFT now because they expect the price of EMP to go up in the future. You as a collector may want to offload that asset right now and want to lock in some of that potential future return and potential future upside right now. So the argument has been made that I could go ahead and purchase all the EMP if I wanted to right now. And while theoretically that's true for some people, it still would leave you in a situation that you would have to wait until the price of EMP had reached whatever that spot price was and then trade out EMP, never being able to actually realize the potential future upside without holding the token until it got to that point. I can get into this point in a bit more detail because maybe it's the more technical one, but the final aspect that I'd like to kind of have everyone consider is obviously the impact. We are an earn with purpose business, so we do know that what we're trying to do is reward our collectors for the impact they're making on the ground, but we also know that you're coming to the project hopefully valuing that you are enabling this opportunity for those who previously wouldn't have had the potential. Now, what you choose to attribute to that part of the NFT's value, again, that's not for me to speculate. Some people will value that at 0. Maybe they're looking at this purely from a return and a reward perspective, and others might value that really highly because for them, making that impact is what makes them feel good about their portfolio, gives them positive feelings that they can assign a higher value to. In short, what I think I'm trying to illustrate is that the value of the NFT really has these 4 components to it. And when considering what is being charged, one needs to consider for themselves how they would assign a value to each of those. As soon as you assign any value to, for example, the creative element, then that, whatever that might be, is something that you'll need to take off the cost that's been charged. And again, once you take off the reward, you need to consider that. The potential upside, as I mentioned in my third point, that will need to be considered. And finally, the impact. Anyone who's looking to or considering purchasing the NFT, if they can make their own calculations of how they value those 4 elements, if they feel that the NFT is still too expensive, we appreciate that. And there may be other NFTs that will be priced at different price points that may make more sense. And at the same time, for anyone who thinks that after factoring in those 4 things, the NFT is good value, of course, we encourage you to purchase one, if not multiple. But I think simply looking at only one component of this would not make this NFT make sense. I appreciate that. If you looked at it just as a creative, it may make some sense to some people, but not to everyone. If you look at it just as the return, again, that will make sense to some people, but not to everyone. And if you look at it just as impact, again, that may not make sense to everyone. It may make sense to some people, but not to everyone. So that's a little bit around how the NFT is being priced. In terms of how that return or reward for the impacts being made, as we mentioned, the EMP that we are suggesting will be a predicted return, as well as the impact rewards. These are our most conservative estimate at what we predict we'll be able to reward collectors for the impact that they made. Of course, this is a real fire situation. It may be the case, given market conditions, that those returns may be higher. There's the chance that those may be lower. I think Bruno, I'll get into that point a little bit later. But we are using a spot price, or we've used a price now to do the calculations, factoring all of the elements I've mentioned, and have done our best to be able to give a prediction on what we expect the returns to be, knowing the on-the-ground conditions, and factoring in the necessary risk element that will come with financing any project, both real fi, on the ground in Africa, in property, etc. So, that was a very long answer, including an interruption, for what was a short question. Do you feel like it covers, hopefully in parts, your question, but also maybe some of the larger debate?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, well, then thank you. If anybody would like me to, if anyone has any follow-up questions to this point, please let me know. Happy to try and elaborate on anything in more detail.
So I have one more question actually.
Go for it.
So, the actual tokenomics video showed that there is a smart contract which will enable the EMP locking against a stablecoin, right? So, will that be in the future releases? I know it's not there yet for this release. I just want a confirmation that it will be in the future releases.
Absolutely. Look, the vision for Empowa is to make our platform a decentralized platform, that makes use of all of Cardano's smart contract features. Right now we are doing things in quite a centralized way because we need to test key aspects of the offering, and being able to hold certain things standard, as any kind of high school science class would have taught you. Being able to hold certain things standard allows you to then better see how different variables impact the output. I think this is where I can steal Bruno's line from the other day. Bruno put it very nicely. He says there's no test net in RealFi. And that's true, right? We can't put key parts of our project onto a test net and run the code and check that it's going to work. So what we've absolutely had to do is to hold certain things consistent, like pick a property partner like Caswell, work with them and do all the other stuff around it, knowing that we can trust that partner. If we are going to move this to a decentralized, and we are going to move it to a decentralized platform, then absolutely the smart contracts will be critical to being able to decentralize it, have it run autonomously, etc. So yes, I can confirm, as the white paper suggested, as the video suggested, ultimately running this using smart contracts and locking in the different things that we've mentioned is part of the longer term roadmap.
I hope that answers your question, you know who, but feel free to follow up if anything's unclear or if you have other questions.
I think
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions from anyone on the call or from the chat?
Hi, Greg. It's Dermot here. Quick question. Just with regards to NFTs, I think the first NFTs are out, and they've been, I think, randomly allocated for all intents and purposes at this point. Because I purchased some today and I just got a bunch of different random numbers. And I know that there's no sort of metadata attached to them at this time. How is the allocation of what the NFTs pertain to in the future going to be decided? So, for example, you got like number 297 or number 872. Are these, attributed to different projects that Empowa is working on? How are they going to be allocated? And I just want to kind of get a feel as to what we can kind of expect a little bit further down the line. And then, obviously, when we get access to that metadata, we can then hopefully see it across the network and then decide, for example, if you want a collection, who we can talk to and how we can go about, trading NFTs, for example. So that's kind of where the question's going.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Dermot. For a start, this collection has 3,000 NFTs in it. So, anyone who participates will be part of the first there's not, some people have purchased multiple, so there won't even be 3,000 collectors, but you can be part of the initial batch of NFTs that have, as I've mentioned, enabled this on-the-ground impact. Of course, NFT Maker, who's our partner in minting these NFTs, we've chosen to randomly generate a number and send them out because they potentially, maybe some people, there's some arbitrary numbers that may have some extra value, and maybe that gets realized and maybe that doesn't. I can imagine a 888 as an example in certain cultures might be really valuable. So if you're fortunate enough to get one of those, then maybe in some circles that'll be considered more rare. There are some NFTs within the collection that are have a glitch and the World Mobile logo as part of the Tesseract animation. So there are only a handful of those, and those are in fact more rare. And I suppose again, for the people who assign value to rarity, there'll be more value for those NFTs. Ultimately, each of these seed NFTs will sit within impact cards, within impact projects. The impact cards and the functionality around that is being built out. And so by purchasing a seed NFT as you have, once impact card functionality comes out, those two will be married and there'll be no extra cost for that. So, the fact that you're participating earlier in the sale is not going to jeopardize you in any way. Ultimately, effectively each project or each collection that we release will have its own value from the partner that we've chosen to work with. In this case, it's been World Mobile. In future, it might be some creatives. It might be other Cardano-based projects. And so, as a starting point, for those who think about collecting Empowa NFTs, consider who the partner is or the proposition and whether the NFT part of that offering is attractive to you. If, for example, the NFT unlocked something in another project, you may then want to say, well, that one's really valuable for me because I'm also a member of, whoever it might be, whichever other potential partner, that metaverse as an example. The NFTs themselves will also unlock certain things within the platform, especially around impact. So being able to potentially see on-the-ground impact, stories, tours of the houses, etc. And so that again will more likely be grouped by the development. So in this particular case, Caswell's construction in Beira is way more than just the 30 houses that we've mentioned. I think what will be common is people who purchase future NFTs that are linked to that on-the-ground project, they will all get similar stuff from that Beira project in terms of the feedback, the input, etc. that they've made, the impact that they've made. But what is unique to your collection, the one that we've released now, is anything with that World Mobile partner. Similarly, in a future NFT, if we did it as a collaboration with, say, a metaverse partner, even if it's funding the same houses on the ground, any value it unlocks with that metaverse partner will be exclusive to that collection. So maybe just to try and finally summarize and hopefully answer your question, each NFT collection, whatever it unlocks, whatever it signifies with that partner, that is unique to that collection. Multiple collections might finance one on-the-ground project, and there potentially the stories from on the ground, some of the stuff that we may unlock in the real world, those may be shared across the collection. So you could imagine a walkthrough of the Beira project being accessible by people who owned this NFT as well as maybe future ones. Jeremy, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Sounds good. So I think what you're basically saying, which is where I kind of think I was heading, was that this NFT collection is specific to Casa de Real, I think, and then any future ones will be for different projects?
Well, yeah. So maybe just to clarify, Casa de Real right now, is not only building 30 homes in Mozambique. So assuming that this project goes well, and we have no reason to think that it won't, we may want to finance a future 30 homes with them, maybe in a similar part of Beira, maybe in a new part of Beira, maybe somewhere else in Mozambique. If we choose to go ahead with that and we finance that with a different collection, people who own that new collection and people who own this first collection may have access to similar on-the-ground impact reporting. So of course, if they're financing houses that look similar in a similar suburb, and you know, we may record a walkthrough of houses, in that suburb and share that with our community, as you can see the underground impact. So there's where they won't necessarily, where things will be unique is if, in order to make that collection more enticing for collectors, we partnered with a metaverse partner, as an example, and by owning one of our NFTs, you unlocked something in that metaverse, then that would only be for that particular collection. Those 10, 15, 20, 30, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 NFTs we minted just for that portion of the funding. In the same way that these houses that we're funding now in partnership with World Mobile, these are the first and will be the only NFT. Well, these are the first NFTs to finance, as we've mentioned, underground construction, powered by Cardano, decentralized internet, powered by Cardano. That cannot be said for any other collection. That will be unique to this collection, because the very next NFTs that we mint will be the second NFT to ever do that. And yeah, that's still interesting, but not as interesting as being the first. So it might be the case that future projects will absolutely be done with other partners, will be done in other countries, but future projects may also be done with Class Real. If we have a good partner, they can continue to deliver. Why would we not want to finance more homes with them?
Perfect. Thanks, Ray. Makes sense. Cheers.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the community? Maybe anything from the chat, Bruno?
Sorry, I always like to give it an awkward silence because it draws people out to speak.
I like it.
But,
I like it, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can get one from the chat. So probably one that's worthwhile that I've seen quite a lot is maybe I know we don't have all the details and it's something that's obviously being developed over time, but around impact rewards, going into some details around that, I feel some people are still unclear what are impact rewards and how do they fit into the equation.
Yeah. So the analogy I think we've been using is that impact rewards are a bit, I suppose, like air miles. So what do we mean by that? Well, there may be a select group of projects that are responsible for issuing them, but ultimately there are multiple use cases for the impact rewards. So for those who've earned air miles, you'll be able to exchange them for some flights with the airline that maybe issued them, but you may also use them for renting a car, booking a hotel. The programs that I've been involved in the past, I've been able to exchange them for physical goods, etc. As you've spoken to more and more partners about partnering around NFT collections, more and more of them have gotten excited about having a token that is interchangeable between projects, that allows them to reward their community for the impact that they're making, and can be traded for things both virtual and physical within their project. So our plan, working with the Impact Rewards team, is to source as many projects to participate as possible, and ultimately what that will allow you to do is to exchange your impact rewards for different items. Now again, as I've touched on, some of these may be physical items. So an obvious example would be merch. Other use cases might be to exchange for something virtual. Again, to go back to the metaverse example, maybe that's a piece of land or something to put on your piece of land if you own something in one of the metaverses. You also be able to potentially exchange them for tokens within the projects. We've already committed as Empowa that because we are one of the first projects to use impact rewards and to kind of give some kind of certainty to those who participate in this NFT collection, impact rewards from this collection can be traded for 1,000 impact rewards equaling 1 EMP. So you already know that you can, if you want to convert your impact rewards to EMP, to further reward yourself in our token. So in short, it's a it's an additional value add for any collectors of our NFT. It will be I think probably a mainstay of our collections going forward, and it will continue to roll out a as an independent offering done in collaboration with other projects that we're working on it with, similar to Blockchain for Good, which is also something we've worked on other projects with to try and continue to add value. And for those who kind of are uncertain, as we mentioned, the impact rewards can be converted for EMP, so you can stay within our ecosystem. But for those who want to find out more and kind of follow the trajectory of impact rewards and what will be the other use cases, I think it's impactrewards.io is the website, where there'll be a lot more information and details added. I know some stuff's kind of in the works, and hopefully can be released and shared before the impact rewards are released, which I think is each quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? Please feel free to unmute yourself and shoot your questions. I guess I gave away my tactic with the awkward silences and no one's giving it.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Sorry, I had a question. It probably was asked, or I was just AFK, and feel free to just stop me here. So I'm going to watch on YouTube. But Seed NFT. How does it exactly work? Because in my perception, there's got to be something attached to it because of the name. So I'm pretty clueless. So
okay, well then thanks for coming in and thanks for asking the question. I've done a lot of talking. I'm happy to continue. Hung, I don't know. I see you on the call. I don't know if you want to
a
little bit.
Yeah, sure. So the Seed NFT has actually two purposes. One is to show that there's a lot of potential in Empowa, and we want to inspire other people to build their own future together with us, to make impact together with us. So that's more on a conceptual level. There will be a podcast around the story behind the Seed NFT, and on the other hand, the Seed NFT is actually part of an impact card. You could say that it is the impact card, but the Seed NFT is actually part of the smart contract, which will be linked to the financials. The impact card itself, it's more of the sleeve where the Seed NFT is put in, right? As in a container, contains more information, more rich information, impact goal information. You name it, it contains more information than we can put in a NFT. So that's why we just say we have the Seed NFT for now, and we're working towards this richer form of an impact card, of an NFT actually, which we call an impact card. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of does, because that's exactly what I thought. It's like the housing for something that's going to be built on top. So that makes sense. Yeah, I think I need to reread the white paper because this is just something I'm missing. But yeah.
Sure. I mean, what I'll add to that is, for somebody, we're on a journey and there's a lot of capabilities and functionality we need to release. Including that is an explorer that really allows you to see kind of in real time, or as close to real time, a lot of details about the NFT that you're holding. So some of those will be financial details, some of those will be impact details, some of those will just be, maybe creative elements that we want to continue to add to kind of build out the story and the narrative and the experience that any of our collectors enjoys from holding one of our NFTs. That's really, I think, where the impact card sits. It's that opportunity within our ecosystem to be able to add all this extra stuff. And one of the things that's maybe also worth noting is in future NFT projects, we will be collaborating more closely with other artists. And those artists will be contributing their creative and their NFT in addition to what you're getting with the Empowa NFT to add value and to make it more collectible. So, and that's again, maybe circling back to my original question that I answered where I said, considering an Empowa NFT, you really need to consider the 4 elements to it. And that first element is the NFT, as a standalone potential collectible element. Now, in some cases, we may get an artist to design our NFT for us and attach all the kind of potential rewards to it. In other cases, we may be delivering 2 NFTs, both our one and the artwork. Now, again, in the case where we're delivering both, the seed NFT will often be the one that is tied, will be the one that's tied to the rewards that you can potentially earn for the impact you're making. And in addition to that, there may be a creative NFT, so you may be getting effectively a 2-for-1. Those would both then need to sit within the impact card, and you may choose, as some people do, to trade out and the kind of financial or reward earning NFT and just keep the artwork, because again, you may want to showcase that you were part of the kind of collector group that helped to fund that part of the project. For anyone who owns the FC NFT, as an example, this concept might be, more real for you. You'll know that when you purchased the FC NFT, you bought just a tile as part of a bigger image, and that tile, in some cases may have been attractive, but in many cases wasn't. But that tile, that particular NFT, is what unlocks the value within our project during the ISPO, during the token sale, or even during this NFT sale. You could at any point, of course, trade those, and they are trading on, I think, CNFT and JPEG Store. But in addition to that NFT, we also gave you a canvas, the complete canvas, once we completed the sale. Now that, for example, is just an artwork that doesn't unlock anything in our project. So for those who see those for sale on any other marketplace, please don't buy them thinking that they'll unlock value in our project. But it will always be proof that you were the original owner and supported our project. So again, if one day the founding community NFT is trading for, some ridiculous amount of money, that's not obviously speculation or financial advice, but if it was and you really felt at that point that you did want to sell it, you can always keep that canvas and show that you were one of the originals. And so that's the same that's going to happen with the seed NFTs and potential future artworks, etc. They might, you may choose to trade some of them and not others, but all of those will need to sit within the impact card in order for us to be able to showcase and highlight that stuff, highlight the impact, highlight the creative, build out more details on the project.
Thank you so much. This makes more sense. But if you guys still have time, or if maybe somebody else wants to ask a question, because I have a few follow-ups, but I don't want to take all time to myself.
Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself, and then maybe we can go back to you in a little bit once maybe a couple of people have asked questions, or let's see. So feel free to unmute yourself.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'm going to follow up then. So Seed NFT is the basis, right? It's associated with the rewards. The rewards going to be, I think, they're going to be coming with EMP. At top of it, you can build in some other things that are going to show that you have also made impact and participated in the whole Empowa journey. So say there's going to be a specific artwork by specific artists that's going to be attached to it. First question is, how does the artwork get attached? Is it something that's naturally going to be automatically attached, or something that will have to be purchased separately? So that's the first small one.
So maybe we can talk about it in now and into the future. So right now, where we choose to moving forward, launch collections that have an artistic partner, and I say that kind of with hopefully the understanding that all Empowa NFTs will have some artistic element to it. So in this most recent one, we don't have an external artist as a partner, but I think for anyone who's seen the video of the NFT with the tesseract that then goes into the seed and the animation, everything, they can agree that it's visually appealing, it's got value from an artistic perspective. But that was done by our in-house design team, Hung and Dan and the rest of the guys. But so there'll always be, maybe not always. I can imagine a world where maybe we do just do a white NFT with just thanks for supporting, but I think that's unlikely. So I think the reality is there'll always be an artistic element, but whether we have an external artist or we do the artwork ourselves, I suppose that's the difference. In the case where we have an external artist participate, then it may be the case that we choose to deliver the artwork as two separate NFTs that as a combo make up that particular collection. In other cases, it might be that we combine those two and we get an artist to actually design the NFT that we then release as the single NFT. So the kind of earning potential and the artistic work are joined together. And that will come down a little bit to the artist, a little bit to how they choose to generate that art, whether they choose to generate that art with, maybe kind of dynamically with formulas, drawing on different inputs, either from smart or kind of from AI that they've designed themselves, or based on maybe attributes from the collector. All of that stuff is obviously conversations we're having with different artists about how they roll out their creative. So right now, that is how it would work within the project. Longer term, when we move to a world of a decentralized project, what we're planning to have set up is a world where a constructor, so the person who's going to be building on the ground, can come to the platform, propose a project, ask for funding. A creator, which is another role within our platform, can come with a creative vision, and those two can work together to make something marketable that the Empowa community wants to support. And in that case, we know the impact cards become really important because we need to have the constructor represented, the creator represented. There's actually other roles around curators who help to market it, etc., all kind of working together to kind of deliver on the impact card and to make the vision a reality. So again, this is a bit of speculation because obviously this has all not been mapped out. This is all part of the journey and the work that we do, but you could imagine a world where an impact project is loaded onto the system. We want to build 1,000 homes in Lagos in Nigeria. The constructor puts forward their proposal around, what they're looking to achieve, the impact that they're going to make, the rewards that they're willing to offer for supporting that impact on the ground. A collector who might feel that that's very close to their heart, a creator who feels that's maybe very close to their heart or is very appropriate for that project, may choose to go ahead and attach something to that impact card to make it more attractive to collectors. Maybe it's a local artist, maybe it's a local musician, etc. You may then have, and this is a further role within our project, a curator, which is somebody who helps to promote it, come on board and say, look, I have a big audience of relevant community members. I'm going to help to promote it, and for that, I'm going to get my own rewards from the money raised. But all those three people work together to deliver the impact card and ultimately to deliver on the project. And so I think to maybe hopefully kind of wrap it up to try and answer your question is, how will the artwork be kind of assigned to an impact card? Right now, that's done by us, very centralized but necessary to test some of the assumptions and models. Going forward, it will be done in a decentralized way by different community members, all sit within the same impact card.
Thank you, Greg. Pretty amazing. I didn't even think that you can attach a piece of music, for example. So that's really something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Music is something we're playing with. I mean, there's no shortage of well-known African musicians who I think, if presented with a credible way to support, the challenges that they see on the ground, will hopefully be keen to partner. So, yeah, I suppose stay tuned.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great questions. Does anyone else have anything else that they would like to ask the team? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay. Well, my experience has been always when you come up to the hour mark, you can sometimes have covered all the questions that that the community has right now. I'm sure there will still be some lively debate in the chat, and so we will be having additional AMAs, throughout the NFT sale and actually ongoing. I mean, for those who are maybe new to the Empowa community, we do have a monthly town hall, regardless of whether we have something to launch or not, because we always want to keep the community up to date with what we're working on. So those tend to be a good opportunity for ongoing check-ins. We usually have a weekly update, but kind of with all the news that we've been pushing out, that seemed less necessary. But tomorrow I'll obviously be sharing an update of this video, which hopefully serves as a bit of a weekly update, as well as some other insights. But yeah, of course, as you can see, the communities, us as a kind of Empowa team, are very invested in making sure that we have done our best to explain the mechanics of this NFT. If you continue to ask your questions in the Telegram group, we'll continue to try and explain them and work through them and give you, of course, more material to hopefully understand how we've derived the value that we have. I will reiterate that the Empowa project is going to be, when successful, not hundreds, but thousands of different NFT collections to finance what is the 50 million home backlog that we see across the African continent, and the $1 trillion opportunity we see in affordable housing. So it is a journey. We are working with partners to design different NFTs. Each of those will have their own uniqueness to them that might appeal to some collectors and may not appeal to others. We do hope that you'll join us on our journey and see value in everything we do, but if not, find the NFT collections that speak to you, both from how they're structured, the partners we're working with, and how you can pay for them potentially. And so, please do keep engaging, do keep trying to understand the mechanics of each NFT. Evaluate for yourself whether this is the correct collection for you. And if it is, please do support us. If not, please kind of stick around and see if the next one is a bit of a better fit. We will also be sharing some imagery and graphics, etc., to hopefully better articulate kind of the four components that make up the value of this existing NFT, because I think that's an important concept to grasp. It will be true of all of our NFTs that there'll be NFT collectability value assigned to it, rewards value assigned to it, and impact value assigned to it. And so those all need to be considered when making a purchase. But it's on us to make sure that that's very clear for our community.
Awesome. So oh, there's a bit of an echo. I think maybe we wrap it up, I guess. If no one else has any questions, then thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you next time at the next AMA or at the town hall. And thank you, Greg, as well. It's very well, very well responded.
I hope so. And again, I'll just end up by saying thank you to everyone who's on this call. Importantly, thanks to everyone who's maybe watching this back and is on our Telegram group and giving us feedback, etc. I said it in the beginning, but I will say it again. The feedback, the questions, the challenges, etc. We really take that as a sign that we have an engaged community who wants to see us succeed, who wants to work with us to make the best possible product and to deliver the impact on the ground. It's when, I suppose, the community goes quiet and isn't interested anymore that we really have a problem. It is a journey. We will do things that absolutely kind of make sense, and there'll be things that we will do that we'll need to test and get feedback on and improve on. We're excited about this prospect. Let's not lose sight of the lives that we're going to be impacting on the ground, the reality that we are delivering on, I suppose, what Charles and Cardano and everyone has for so long touted is, the reason why we as a community are unique. It's RealFi. It's making impact on the ground. It's using blockchain technology to deliver houses, using blockchain technology to deliver affordable internet. It's not just a JPEG that, maybe you can see a little bit of yourself in, but really beyond that, is speculative. This is really something that has on the ground real world impact. And for those who are joining us on our journey, for those of us who are helping to figure it out, there's plenty of upside, both from the impact and the rewards that you'll enjoy. So thank you. Thanks to the community. And we're looking forward to, as the NFT sale opens now, to the EarthNode operators and then later to the broader community, continuing to see everyone's support.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Cool. Thanks so much, Abe. Appreciate it. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.